Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today I want to talk about a question that I think has been on a lot of people's minds. Do you max one team for your raid, or do you get a bunch of teams up to like difficulty 2 level to get points? What's the best strategy here? We're going to talk about that today. First, a quick note that I want to mention. I asked CG Heem about how chapter 2 is going to be rolled out, and she basically responded with this. After a chapter completes, if you get all the required points, which for chapter 1 will be 17 million points, the following happens, right? A 24-hour grace period will commence. This is to allow any guild members to complete battles they're still actively playing, they can't start new ones, and allow people to further gear, collect stuff, collect rewards, and gear their characters up before the start of the next chapter. After the grace period is completed, as long as the guild succeeded in winning the previous chapter, the next chapter will start automatically. So this is something I think I definitely overlooked and didn't realize what was happening. What's going to happen is you do chapter 1. You start the raid, you do chapter 1. You have 24 hours to complete chapter 1. If you get 17 million points, let's say you start that on Monday. Tuesday, it's a break day. So you get to collect your personal rewards, just the personal rewards, not the guild rewards. Get some of your characters up, adjust, talk about strategy for chapter 2. Then Wednesday, chapter 2 will automatically start. I don't know for sure, but how I'm interpreting this is also if you start a raid a few days before they fully release chapter 2, but chapter 2 gets released, then it will automatically start. But I don't know that 100% for certain. That's how I'm choosing to interpret this, and probably the path that my guild will take. What I didn't realize was this 24-hour wait period, right? So chapter 1 Monday, break day Tuesday, chapter 2 Wednesday, break day Thursday, chapter 3 Friday, break day Saturday, chapter 4 Sunday, right? And then you either have enough keys to start another raid on Monday. I think that might be it. So it's actually kind of going to be a week-long thing with these 24-hour breaks built in. So I don't know if it's going to keep staggering every week, or you're going to be able to just do, every week on Monday, because we get enough keys every week, we're going to be able to start there. Okay. Anyway, on to the main task at hand, which is talking about raid teams and whether you should or should not be maxing one raid team. Let's get some facts out of the way first. The Mega Krakens in this game have indicated that they get more points doing difficulty 3 than they do doing difficulty 4. Even with their maxed out 7-star Elrond Rivendell teams, right? They are able to do difficulty 3 and get more points there than difficulty 4. What that means for you is that you should assume that difficulty 3 at the moment is basically the max level of difficulty you can get. So that's one fact. 2, I think the recommended powers are actually pretty close to what you need. 34k for difficulty 3, 16k for difficulty 2, and 5.5k for difficulty 1. Okay, so with a recommended power of 34k, basically the closer you are to that recommended power, or if you're above it, the less RNG you feel, in the sense, what I think that really comes down to is, again, if your team has the ability to take 1 or 2 hits from the bomber and not be completely wiped out, then you're not relying on just a couple of RNG bomber drops. Or if your team can't get through a tank very quickly or whatnot, then I think that you're more reliant on RNG. But the closer you are to recommended power, the better your team is and the less reliant on that RNG you are. With that in mind, this is probably the most hard and fast rule I could come up with. If you're not level 60 and your main team isn't really 5 stars or above, I don't think it's worth pushing out a max team for raids. That's not to say like you shouldn't be maxing out your arena team. I really think you should. But I think star levels and being level 60 are pretty key to getting into this last difficulty here. And you need to be able to max out your characters gear, skill, and level-wise, and then also have stars on top of that to really make this an effective difficulty for your team. Just to give you a kind of numbers example here, if you have a 5-star team that is completely maxed out, level 6 and all the skills, level 60, gear tier 8. I'm saying gear tier 8 is maxed out here. Then you basically have a team that's about 31k power. That doesn't include leadership abilities, but it clocks in at about 31, right? That's still 3k lower than the recommended level. That's a 5-star. At 3-star, that same team is clocking in at 26k, right? So that's 8K lower than the recommended power. You're going to really struggle in difficulty 3. So that's why I'm saying 5 stars is probably, if you have a team of mostly 5 stars or above, that's a good candidate to take up to difficulty 3. The first objective that everybody should have is getting 500K points. And the reason I'm saying that, let me go back here. The reason I'm saying that is because if you have a full guild of 36 and everybody gets 500K points, you're going to be able to clear the 17 million mark to get from chapter 1 into chapter 2. So I think that's the first goal everybody should have. You can do that a bunch of different ways, right? You can just have one difficulty 3 team that does pretty well. You could have 2 difficulty 2 teams that do pretty well, or you can have, 5 difficulty 1 teams that all get maxed out. So for people who aren't level 60 yet, I think the piece of advice I want to give is that you should focus on getting 2 teams up to difficulty 2. And the reason I'm saying that is because you probably already have a light squad, you probably have a shadow squad, and your arena team is probably composed of some mix and mash of that, right? And so I think it's going to be easier resource-wise on you to get those 2 teams up, and that will help you hit that 500K mark sooner rather than later and help your guild get to chapter 2. And of course, then you will be getting more rewards as a result of that. Okay, so if you're really 60 or if you're close to it, I think the answer to this question that I've posed for this video is a little bit more complicated, nuanced, and kind of up to your personal opinion. So the second objective I think you should be going for here is this 2 mil mark. Yep, 2.175 mil mark. That's just because then you can get Gandalf shards on your own. This is in the personal reward, so you're going to need to be hitting 2.175 mil in each chapter. It's not cumulative in that sense like the guild rewards are. So I think this is an important milestone to hit. I also think if everybody is shooting for this and they get this in chapter 1, then you're going to be doing well in the guild rewards as well. If they get this in chapter 2, you're just going to be kind of getting yourself more and more rewards, right? So I think that's a good goal if you're already over that 500K mark to now work on this 2.175 mil mark. And again, there's a number of ways to do this, right? I think probably the easiest way to do this is with 2 teams who are maxed out in difficulty 3, and you get that 900K points, right? You're able to max out at 900K points, that's 1.8 mil, and then you can have some teams in difficulty 2 or even some teams in difficulty 1 to kind of round things out, get to that 2.175. To me, that seems like the best. Plus, if you were already taking the advice that you should get 2 teams to difficulty 2 before you hit level 60, and those are your shadow and light teams anyway, and your arena team is made up out of that. I think that's just a good option to have. But I want to warn you here, going and doing 3 max teams might not be the best thing to do right now, especially if you are not currently level 60 and you're kind of planning for the future. What should I do next? And the reason I'm saying that is because of the amount of resources it takes to go from let me switch over here. It's spreadsheet time. To get a team ready for difficulty 1 versus difficulty 2 versus difficulty 3. I have here a basic table showing the difference in resources to get a team to difficulty 1, 2, and 3. I want to make sure I'm clear on a few things though. Okay, this is per character. So this 145 gold is not for a whole team to difficulty 1, it's for 1 character. So you just multiply all these values by 5. And the second thing is, I'm saying these level 30 G4, skill 3 for difficulty 1, these are all at 5-star. And that's, again, just for the sake of comparison, because I think you really do need 5-star to be able to, or mostly 5-star to be able to get into difficulty 3 and do a good job at it and not have to, spend hours and relying on RNG. And so if you're working with lower star levels, this is not a good guide. Obviously, stars add a lot of stats and viability to characters. So you're probably going to have to go higher than this if you're working with characters that are at, say, 3-star, like the Marquis, if you're free to play or something like that, right? One thing I also want to mention is I do think these levels kind of get you out of this gray area that I've noticed where you'll have a team at a certain power, like let's say difficulty 1, they can max out. But as soon as you go into difficulty 2, they can't get over that 100K threshold. So it doesn't make sense to then go into difficulty 2 if they can't do that, especially without a lot of RNG, right? So I think these values are pretty good at kind of avoiding what I'll call that gray area for recommended power and all that sort of thing. So difficulty 1, level 30, gear 4, skill 3, This is nice because you don't have to put any light crystals and you don't have to put any purple mats. Difficulty 2, you start get a little bit more expensive. You start to get light crystals, although not that many. Again, gear is not as important as stars, and a few purple mats. But then, yes, maxing out a whole team is insane, right? 2.4 mil gold, 572k character XP, right? A huge number of crystals and purple mats as well. Let me talk for a second about what I think the biggest next bottleneck is. I don't think it's going to be gold. I think it's going to be character XP. To get one character to 60 here, you could take that character XP and you could get 3 characters to this level 45 and, kind of get them up into this difficulty 2. All the other resources actually require lots more. So you require way more than 3 times the amount of gold to get them up to difficulty 3. Same with crystals and purple mats, right? So just on a character XP basis, you can get 3 times the amount. And so what I think people should be doing after they get 2 teams up to difficulty 3 and are thinking about and are able to sort of make that 2.175 mil number, I think you should be going a little bit wide, getting more characters up to difficulty 2 rather than just choosing another team and going up to difficulty 3. And the reason I'm saying that right now is because I think it gives you a little bit of flexibility. You're not committing a bunch of resources to teams that aren't necessarily going to be good. I'll give you an example. Haradrim is currently being sold to us as a solution for Chapter 2, right? Haradrim will be the Chapter 2 team. They're going to be doing the best. But are they going to be good at Chapter 1? Are they going to be good at any other chapters? Should we be expecting teams to be good at multiple chapters, or do we need to get specialized teams for each chapter? We don't know these questions right now. We don't know the answer to the questions right now. And so I think it would be better to play it safe, get a little bit wider on your roster, then, with minimal resources. And then if it turns out some of these characters are good, you can then bring them up very easily later, right? So that doesn't mean bring up anybody and everybody. I think you should choose to play with characters that you want to, experiment with and like make fun team comps with. But 2, choose some characters that also look like they're going to be pretty good with the raids. I'll give you an example with my account. So 3 characters I think I will be bringing up and that fit sort of this criteria. Obviously, 2 of them are right here, Feely and Keely. I will probably leave them at that difficulty 2 level when I can. I'm very interested in dwarves. I also think Feely and Keely are great plug and play duo character, and they've just got good mechanics for at least the first 2 chapters of the raid. The other person that I think is going to be good here, obviously, is Pippin, but I don't have the stars on Pippin. I haven't promoted him yet. That's another character that I'm going to be taking up to 45 and then just kind of waiting for me to get the stars and seeing how things kind of play out over the rest of the year. Being able to then take them up later, I will have that opportunity to do so. But again, this is just sort of my take on it. It's not a here's exactly what you need to do to be optimized. I don't have the answers to that. But this is sort of what my take on the whole situation is, but I'm happy to discuss if you all think differently. And with that, thanks so much for watching.